Hey guys, welcome back to Automotive Chaos. Do you own a second gen Ram? Do you also want a cold air intake for said second gen Ram? Would you rather not lay out $250 plus for a cold air intake for a second gen Ram? If you answered yes to all of those questions, take a walk with me outside because we're going to build one for my 94 2500 Cummins. Not going to bore anybody with the removal of the factory intake. It is 2 hose clamps, one on the compressor housing of the turbo, one in your factory air box. Once you pull the top off, as if you were going to replace the filter, you have 3 plastic screws on the bottom. You can loosen those up, pull it off the inner fender, and the factory intake is removed. So now with everything cleared out of the way, I'll show you what I bought so far to make this intake. So we have our 90-degree 4-inch to 5-inch silicone coupler, and I have a 5-inch aluminum 45-degree elbow. I'm going to go and pop this on the compressor housing of the turbo, and we'll see where we stand with there. Might have to make a couple adjustments. I have a feeling I'm going to have to cut a little bit off of this coupler just to buy myself some room around the battery, but I'll get that on and we'll take a look. So coupler's on, and you can see it's going to get a little tight in here with it on the battery box. So I'm thinking if I can take a little bit off of this end and move the coupler back, we might buy ourselves some space to run our aluminum elbow up and over to our inner fender. So pull this back off, go into the garage, and we'll start removing a little bit of material. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken a spare piece of 4-inch aluminum pipe that I had, shoved it in the side that's going to go over the compressor housing on the turbo, and then I have a T-bolt clamp on top, so that's going to provide a nice straight line for me to cut along. So now I'm just going to take a utility knife and we will cut along the clamp. We have a small piece removed. This is what's left of our elbow. Let's go out front and we'll see how this fits on the truck. All right, so elbow fits. We did buy ourselves a little bit of room. I don't know if you can see in between the battery and the actual elbow itself. There is not a lot of room. We're also kind of running out of real estate between the end of the intake tube and our inner fender, but that can be remedied by shortening up our intake pipe. So pull this off, go back into the garage, and we'll probably take, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 inches off, and hopefully we'll have enough room to get a decent sized filter on there. So let's cut the aluminum tube. We just took a piece of tape, wrapped it all the way around. I'll use that as my cut line, and I'm just going to cut this with my 4-inch angle grinder, and then we'll clean up the edges when we're done. Okay, so that's what we took off. Definitely going to roll my ankle on that later. And this is what we're left with. So I'm going to take my small die grinder, we'll deburr the edge, clean that up a little bit, and then we'll do another test fit out on the truck. Okay, so definitely bought ourselves some room there. I think I'm going to end up cutting a little bit off of this leg as well. So when we do get a filter on there, hopefully get one a little bit longer and just get one with some more surface area. I could probably just slide the filter over that, but it doesn't really make sense because then you're still blocking off the filter inside. So I'll take a little bit off that, and then I think we can grab some measurements for a filter, and hopefully we can find something at the shop that's close to my house. So didn't realize that it's almost 5 o'clock, and the speed shop near my house closes at 5. So we had to take the race car out to run some errands. Oh, we're gonna make it. Here's what we got from the parts store. So this is a K&N filter. It has a 5-inch inlet, 7 inches long overall. So we should have plenty of room to get that in place. Now I threw the stock one back on just for a little comparison, which I'll show you a little bit later on what it sounds like with the stock one compared to what we're about to put on. So I'm gonna take this out again. We're going to mock this back up. I want to weld a brace onto the aluminum intake to secure it to the inner fender. Once we do that, we can bolt that thing down and then see what it sounds like. Obviously, we do not have anything clamped in place, but this is where the elbow and the filter are going to sit. You can see we have plenty of clearance in between our battery and the intake tube. Again, that was achieved by cutting a little bit of the coupler back, cutting some of our elbow. So I'm happy with the fitment. We're gonna remove our filter, put that off to the side for now. Now we can come in and figure out where our little bracket is gonna sit. Looks like that stud right there might be an okay spot for it. So I think I have some scrap aluminum in the garage. I'm gonna cut a small piece of that, we'll bend it, and then we'll start mocking that up. So of course it decides to downpour pretty much as soon as I came out here. But I went into the garage, cut a piece of aluminum strip, bent it in my vise, and now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna line this up with the side of our intake tube, mark the pipe, mark the bracket, and we'll bring it back into the garage, weld it up, and then we can anchor this in place. So what I'm doing here is I'm pretty much just taking my Sharpie and kind of cheating and using this as layout fluid. So I'm gonna put this underneath. We're gonna put a little bit, we're gonna line this up, I'm gonna line this up with the pipe. Then I'm gonna use the stud that's on the inner fender to just make a slight indent. We'll drill a hole there, and then we can pull this entire thing out. I'll mark the side of the pipe as well. We'll weld this bracket to it, and then we can come in and anchor this down. All right, got our mark on the bottom. I marked the pipe where this bracket rests. I'm gonna take the entire thing off, bring it inside, weld it up, and then we'll come back out. Silencer ring is out. It's the large snap ring of the compressor housing of the turbo, and then your ring that actually blocks off the anti-surge housing comes out. So just a pick, pair of pliers. You wanna be careful, obviously not to break the snap ring. If you had to, you could probably find a replacement one. I'm gonna put this with all the components from the stock intake, hold on to it if I ever decide to go back. I have everything, and it'll be a nice simple bolt on. Nothing was cut. Should be a quick replacement if need be. So yeah, with that out, let's get our intake on, throw the filter on, and see how this thing sounds. I'm just gonna clock this down to where it fits on that bolt. It holds this nice and steady. I'm gonna have to go during the week and grab a nut for that hold down. So I went through the trouble of welding it on. I would like it to actually do its job rather than just sitting on the stud. Okay, you guys ready for turbo noises? I am. Let's crank this thing up, see how it sounds. That is going to do it for this one. It is pouring outside. I'm soaked, but got it done. I've had that silicone coupler and that elbow for over a year. So I'm glad I finally got it done. We're gonna leave the truck alone for a little while. Next thing is probably gonna be either exhaust or fixing the body. So if you're interested to see more of that truck, please consider subscribing below. And we should be picking the Camaro up tomorrow. So if you wanna see a turbo LS 68 Camaro get a roll cage by someone who's never done a roll cage before, also consider subscribing and following along. But if you guys made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you very soon.